Hey guys, so it's been a while, so I figured I'd give you guys an update at this point. So we could take this back to, let's say, about 5 months ago. It was a set of reverse dumbbell flies. I'm hinged to basically get my torso parallel to the floor, and I'm pulling a lot of weight, and I felt a little twinge in my back, like a little jolt. And I do have a herniated disc in that area. It's not herniated at the moment, but it was bad in 2016, so it's kind of still there. I still feel that lingering issue. And I was like, all right, so I'll give it a couple days. Everything seemed fine. I was continuing to deadlift heavy, squat heavy, do all the standing dumbbell and heavy free weight work that I was doing. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a layout on what I was doing in terms of standing. I was doing roughly 8 sets of reverse dumbbell flies. This is per week. 16 sets of dumbbell laterals, 16 sets of standing dumbbell curls or barbell curls, and then about 16 sets of lumbar loaded deadlifts, which you could think of it as 8 sets of B stance deadlifts, right? So 8 sets would be 16 sets on your lumbar, because a B stance deadlift is 1 leg each, and about 6 sets of back squats per week. That's a ton of lumbar stress, right? Especially as you get very lean for competition, as we have to do. We have to get as lean as we possibly can. And now we're a little bit more under-recovered, under-fed from the low amount of calories. Not the best recipe for success. So now I'll take it back to the first point I made about the reverse dumbbell flies. With that little issue there, I was fine. I was continuing to deadlift and everything, but I noticed that once I started posing, which was like a month or 2 later, my back really got bad, to the point where after training I had to just lay on my back. And it got to the point where I couldn't pose. I mean, anything with lumbar extension was just absolutely wrecking my back. So yeah, that was the first sign where I'm like, I think something was really wrong, and I don't think it's a lumbar strain. We made a few adjustments to my training. One being having the dumbbell flies, the reverse version, getting that on a chest supported bench, which is gonna help, lessen that lumbar strain that is on my back from all the standing work that I mentioned. So that was one. Number 2, I was doing some light mobility work for my lower back. Not necessarily the best thing for the issue I'll explain to you in a bit. And also I just kind of lightened the load on deadlifts, increased the reps, lowered the RPE a little. It seemed to help a little, but not as much as I would have liked. A month or 2 went on. My back progressively got worse, albeit very slowly. And I did 1 set of B stance deadlifts, and I felt that kind of pain in your back you don't want to feel, almost like something's jolting inside of you, and a little bit of pain there. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely gonna do it. So I left the gym immediately, and I think I took 4 days off, and I contacted a physio to help me with this issue. Now, I didn't have an MRI or anything done. I've been here before. I've tweaked my back so many times where I didn't need a new MRI to see what was going on. We just kind of eased back on training. I saw a physio, and they usually take care of business. But for this specific instance, my back was actually getting worse with physiotherapy. We lowered my volume tremendously in the gym, doing all isolation movements as well. But there was something wrong, I wasn't getting better. At that point, I had to make a decision if I wanted to continue, because now I'm thinking about my career, not just this one world championship. And I decided, kind of against, what I was told to do. I felt like I needed to pull out of prep for sure. Something didn't feel right. It wasn't getting better. I could see this getting way worse if I kept pushing in the gym, doing more compound lifts. That was so out of the realm of possibilities for me. So I am super, super happy I listened to myself in that moment, and I did pull out of prep. Noticing that I wasn't getting better, I was like, okay, let me try a different physio. This time it was in person. Again, the same diagnosis. It was a lumbar strain, a QL strain, and they were treating me for that. Again, not getting better. Now this is 6 weeks in to supposed rehab. From here, I'm like, okay, I'm taking the advice of one of my friends, Peter, who always gives me the best advice ever. He's like, these physios are diagnosing you with this specific ailment, but you're not getting better. What about an MRI? Yeah, so I was like, let me just go get the MRI. Thankfully, it was very fast here in Thailand. I was like, you don't need a prescription or anything. You just go in, they just do it, and like 2 hours later, I got my results. So that was amazing. I got the results back, and it seems to be the main issue is a disc fissure. And I believe that it's a small tear on the outside of your disc. So it's not a herniation. It's kind of like a little slit in your disc. And think of it like an onion, right? So it has layers. It's almost like the first layer just kind of gets cut a little. And that can cause some issues because there are chemicals and other things kind of like coming out of that cut. And that's what creates irritation and probably burning, the burning feeling I was feeling, and a deep ache. So yeah, that made sense to me. Also did see some disc bulges. Now, they're very mild. They could have been there for a long time because pretty much everyone has some sort of disc issue. It might be asymptomatic and you might not feel it, but I don't think that's the big problem. I would like the disc bulges to get a little better, but the disc fissure was the big deal. And now I'm with a physio who's treating me under the right diagnosis, and it's been a week, and I feel honestly 30% better instantly. Like this seems to be the right move. Now we're gonna heal this up as quickly as possible. I am about 1.5 weeks from training at all. I've been taking off 1.5 weeks, and I suppose they're gonna have me stay without training for at least another week to kind of calm the irritation down, the inflammation, all that stuff. And once that's kind of settled, they'll start incorporating more like core and glute exercises to protect my spine, as well as some light training, most likely all isolations in the gym, just to get the blood moving, get my mobility, a little better and things like that. And then from there, we just progress, as we see fit. That brings me to the lessons that I feel I've learned this year, because this is the first time I've ever had to pull out of a prep. I've never been injured during prep. I've never had to pull out of prep, thank God. Hopefully this is the last time, but there's some lessons to be learned from my end, and hopefully it'll help you guys, stay healthy too. In terms of my injury, I am quite confident that if I kept pushing, I would have ended my career or severely limited it, because a disc herniation is usually more likely when you have a fissure. On top of that, I did have some disc bulges that could have turned into herniations as well. So if I had 1 or 2 herniations at 39 years old, that was going to take a long time. I mean, back in 2016, I herniated a disc, and it took me a long time to get back, and that was almost 10 years ago. So I am very, very grateful that I suppose you could call it smart enough or intuitive enough to pull out of this prep. And yeah, that brings me to a point for you guys. Like, doctors, coaches can only tell you so much. At the end of the day, you know your body more than anyone. And if your intuition is telling you like something's really wrong here, I know all my coaches and doctors are trying to tell me, and they have my best interest at heart, but they're doing the best they can, but they can only do so much for you. They're not in your body. They don't know what you're capable of, what you're feeling. Only you do. So I would implore, you guys to really take it upon yourselves to take a step back and say, okay, this is what I've been told to do, but does it feel right? And a lot of the times you'll know. You'll know if you're pushing into an injury. There's some warning signs, little aches and pains. Those grow into injuries sometimes. Sometimes they don't, but we do have to be careful and listen to our bodies. In terms of a doctor, a physiotherapist, right? A chiropractor, if that's what you guys go for. It is ultimately a very subjective perspective they're going to give you on a diagnosis. Now, an MRI is pretty much objective, right? It's like it's right in your face. You know exactly what the discs are doing, what your spine's doing. Now, yeah, if I could, I would rewind back to when I first tweaked it on that deadlift and immediately got an MRI, because that would have saved me 6 weeks of absolutely no progress for my injury. In fact, it made it worse. So if you can, I know it's tough in the States. It's a lot harder to get an MRI right away, but if you have to wait a few weeks, man, like, or woman, just get it done if you can, if you could afford it, if your health insurance covers it, obviously. But yeah, that's a big takeaway for me here. It is disappointing that I did have to pull out of prep, but this is not the end. I'm just going to rest. And my goal now is for 2026 Worlds, God willing, I can make it for that and be healthy. It's going to be to just regain all the strength and muscle I had pre-injury, because we really progressed. I think more this year, the past 3 years of off season, than I did for the last off season for Worlds in 2022. So when I do get all that back, and on top of that, we noticed some weak points still in my physique, because I did get rather lean. I pulled out like 3 months from prep, so I was still lean. But we did notice things we need to work on to be the best that we can be, and I am definitely going to tackle those areas very hard as soon as my body permits. That is the silver lining for this year. And I'm looking forward to competing at the competitions I couldn't. You know, I couldn't compete in Dubai, Taiwan, which I wanted to compete at, and obviously Worlds. So we have some ground to make up. I know a lot of people that I converse with on Instagram are competing at Worlds this year. I want to wish everyone best wishes, and I hope you bring your absolute best that you've ever brought to the stage this year. It's going to be a good one. I know a lot of really good competitors are competing, and I hope you guys kill it, and I'm looking forward to seeing my WNBF family next year. Take care, guys.